So how much does it cost to start a line marking business? And if it's so good, why aren't more people doing it? Well, that's essentially the question we got today through YouTube. Let me read it to you so you guys can see it as well. Now it says, I've just watched your videos and something really struck me. I've been going to job fairs, speaking to careers advisors and searching for trades or industries I could get into. And recently I came across two areas I really like, which are skip hire and grab hire. But more interestingly, it's line painting. Why do you think line painting is so overlooked as a career path, even though it's clearly essential and seems like a great trade to get into with a relatively low startup cost? Well, what a fantastic question. Great way to start the show. So, I think that, in fact, before we get to line marking and why it's great, let's just take a couple of steps back where you mentioned the skip hire and the grab hire. Now, this is waste and recycling, an industry that I definitely don't like. Now, for a couple of reasons. Now, the first one, let's talk grab hire. Grab hire to me means you're going to be serving commercial customers. Essentially, mostly you're going to be looking at builders. Now, while that's okay in the sense that you're going to deal with one or two, maybe three types of waste, you're going to have aggregates, you're going to have earthworks, and you might have some, green removal, that sort of thing. That's relatively easy. The downside of that is going to be that if you're working with a business, they're probably not going to want to pay you for maybe 30, 60, 90 days after you've done the job. And that to me is going to be a problem. You've still got all of the cost of actually setting that business up, buying that lorry. And a grab hire lorry will probably set you back 40, 50,000 pounds for a half decent used one, 20,000 pounds for one that's kind of at the end of its life. But you've still got the cost of insuring it, getting your license. You're gonna have enough space to store it and drive it and get an operator's license from. Plus, when you collect that waste, you've either got to take it directly to the place you're selling it to, or you've got to bring it back and then you've got to separate the waste out into piles so that you can recycle it properly or sell it on, whatever you may want to do. So that's grab hire. The only thing I think you could do to really make a little bit more money on your grab hire is to do aggregates as well, so that you can do drop off of aggregates. If you can tip out of your grab hire as well, that might be a nice little way to do it. But quite honestly, even more cost again. You're gonna have a lot of space, a lot of material buy-up, a lot of cash flow out the door, and then you're gonna wait to get cash in. If you're talking skip hire, chances are you're looking at residential. Don't get me wrong, we have skips as well in our business, but we also have waste recycling bins. The only time I get a skip in is when I get all that really nasty shit that I just can't put in the skip bin, and I have to put it into an actual proper skip. And the thing I find is people get all that crap they really don't want to just jam it down into the skip, and then they fill it back up. They put the sink on it, the old toilet, the fucking curtains go on it, neighbor's bin bag and dog shit bag come into it as well. And basically, is the skip hire place, you're gonna be taking all that shit, everything that nobody wants, and kind of like all that shit's your problem to deal with. The issue with that is when you get all these skips back in, and I should be clear, if you've hired a skip, you know what I'm talking about. In fact, even if you haven't, you know what I'm talking about here. They've got a level load on the side. Ain't nobody loading that thing level. Everybody's building like the leaning fucking tower of shit on that skip hire thing. Honestly, a freaking nightmare. But you've got to separate all that waste out. So when it comes back into your yard, you've literally got to separate it out into piles so that you can either recycle it, sell it on, go to landfill, whatever it may be. And the only saving grace out of all of that is that you get cash flow up front, because you can charge people the day you drop the skip off. So you get immediate cash flow, but you've got some serious cost to actually do anything with it. And honestly, I just think it'd be a nightmare of a business with a lot of shit in between. Now, going on to the line marking, why is it a good business? And if so, why isn't everybody doing it? I think it comes down to a couple of reasons, right? One, it's crazy to think, but no one fucking knows about it, right? When I was younger, I was 16, my dad said, you're gonna do plumbing or you're gonna do electrics. That was it. There was no other choice. You're doing this or you're doing this. And I thought, no, I'm not putting my hand down a toilet, so not even my own toilet. So I'll do the electrics. And that was kind of it. You did plumbing or electrics, or some people, they went off and did carpentry, but no one spoke to them. They were the other lot. Or bricklaying, but they were just dribbling and shit, so we didn't bother with them either. But those are kind of like your main trades. And the problem with that is so many people go into it. Just in my county where I live in Northamptonshire here, there's over 4,000 electricians all going for the same work. 4,000 electricians. When it comes to line marking companies, there's not 4,000 in the whole of the country. In fact, there's about 200. In the whole of the country, there's like 200 line marking companies here. Of that, I actively compete with less than 10. Let me show you, right? So this is my Google ads, okay? So just this month alone, what are we, the 6th of May, I have competed with, let's scroll, oh, if I scroll past it, hold on. Here we go. So impression shares here, I've got me, Acculine, Clean and Retrieve, and Permastripe for impression share. If I go to top of page rate, we had a few more. We've got Turf Fix, I've never even heard of this. Sounds like they would do grass line marking. Yeah, they do sports turf paint, not even the same thing. We've got Anglo Liners, MB Road Marking, and others. That's basically the only companies I'm competing with. There are a few more though, there are a few more. It's the overlap rate. Overlap, I've got Clean and Retrieve, Acculine, Total Line Marking, MB Road Marking, WJ, they're the big boys on the highways. And that's about it. So I would say, yeah, that's it. That's all I compete with across the entire UK. Crazy, isn't it? Because if I were doing electrics, I'd have 10 times, fucking 20 times that just in my town here, let alone the entire county or the country. Now, I've stopped doing electrics. I did it from when I was 16 till I was 33 until I found road marking and line marking. In terms of what it would cost you to get set up, I think about 20 grand would be like the ideal figure to get started with, because you can buy a good line marking machine for like 10K, but then you're gonna need stencils, you're gonna need a dryer, a grinder, and all in, 20 grand will get you set up with brand new gear. Of course, you need a van to transport it all in as well, but you can get a business lease on a van for like £300 or £400 a month, and you're literally on your way. So you are sorted. The only thing I think that holds people back getting involved in line marking is that people simply don't know about it, which is crazy to think, because I bet if you walk outside of your house right now, you couldn't walk 10 feet without seeing some lines. Doesn't matter where you live in the country, anywhere in the country. Right now, you go outside, I bet you can see some road markings or some line markings. Now, we don't really want to talk road markings really, because road markings is a different kettle of fish to line marking, in my opinion. Road marking is what WJ do. So one of the ones that came up there, WJ, they're the biggest in the industry for highways. The problem is they sell their lines at a quarter of the price I sell mine for, because they do such huge volume. They also own the manufacturing of machinery, manufacturing their own paints. They have their own internal qualifications for it, because there is an NVQ you can do, but really it's an unregulated industry. They're the huge, big ones, and trying to compete with them at their own game on price is crazy. So I don't think highways is worthwhile. Off highways though, it is very much a fragmented market. And what we mean by that is there's no clear leader. Now, if you Google it, you'll find companies like myself at linemark.com that are advertising, that have SEO that ranks us quite high for it. In fact, usually #1 position for a lot of keywords. But it's a fragmented market, meaning there's quite a few different players. There's, like I say, there's about 200 different companies. Of that 200, I'd say there are 50 decent companies, 150 that are just kind of like, they just say they do it, but they're kind of half in, half out the industry. They don't really have the skill set. Mostly they only do old school, sort of like thermoplastics as well. So there's sort of 50-ish decent companies, of which I really only compete with less than 10, I would say. That's how good it is. Now, I think that's a great market to be in because it's not saturated, which means the price is higher for what you get. In fact, so it's now, what is it? It is 4:30. Today, so far, I think we've done just over £4,000 worth of line marking on a little car park around the corner. By comparison, when I was an electrician, I'd earn maybe 300, maybe £400 a day, about 10% of what we get today. I got some electrics done last week. I've got some new sockets in my cold plunge. I didn't even put them in myself. Do you know, it cost me £300 to get someone out to wire in my sockets in my own house. I'm a freaking electrician. I've been doing electrics since I was 16. But you know what? I can get an electrician in for literally a few £100, do the whole thing for me. I can go out and do a car park and get 4 grand in less time than that. Crazy. Saturation, supply and demand. So why is it worthwhile getting involved in? Well, I think that's pretty clear. I honestly think it's a great industry. I really do. I think that there aren't many people involved in it. There's a great opportunity to build your brand. And that's another thing, right? When we're talking building a brand, let's say if you just went onto YouTube if you typed in line marking here in the UK, you're not going to find many people. So we've come up number 1, we've come up number 2, we've come up number 3. There is another company that sell paints at number 4. They just sell the paints. We're at number 5. Another one that does fields at 6, 7. We are in the top 5. We're 4 of them, right? There are very few companies that really, and this is, again, a lot of this is not quite roads. There are very few people, here we are again, very, very few people that create content for it. I would say that, you know, without sounding, or at least not trying to sound big-headed for it, we definitely come up like as the only people that actively post a lot of content for this. There's, it's us again. So Fleet, yeah, cool. These guys do paint, they don't actually do any lines. But that's really it. You know, there's just, this guy does driving tests, that's not the same thing. That's driving tests as well. So there's very, very few companies that actually create content for it and create stuff, which is really, really nice for us as well. And the same when it comes to SEO, when it comes to advertising, you type in line marking into Google, you know, we generally come up pretty high. So you can see our ads here, but we usually come up pretty high up as well when it comes here. We've got more sponsored here. And then we come down to, here we are again. We're this time we're number 2 for line marking in the UK for SEO. We'll get that back up to number 1, don't worry about that. It kind of changes on a day-by-day basis, but you've got to write constant content for your SEO. But essentially, we're coming up organically pretty much straight away. So this is what I mean, like when you're looking at a trade, when you're looking at a service, I just think, what are you going to enjoy doing? Why do you want to do it? If it's purely just to make money, I don't know. Like, I don't think anything will make you happy in that respect. But if you're actively looking and saying, okay, I want to start a business that I'm actually going to stick at for the next 10 years and build a really good, decent, credible business for myself, I don't think it's in Skip Hire. I mean, I wouldn't have thought so. If you're interested more in that and grab hire, check out Asheville. Like Daniel Asheville would be the guy to watch for that sort of stuff. Although even he has stopped doing it now and he only does waste, like getting rid of on his trains. And that's only because he's in a 50-year lease with a fucking train track. Otherwise he wouldn't be doing that either. He'd just close it all. Because quite frankly, the only bit that really makes him money is doing the new builds. And even then, not masses of money. So I would say if you're really thinking about the Skip Hire and you know, that's the way you want to go, huge, huge cost, very competitive landscape. Going into line marking, I mean, obviously, if you're based in the UK, then hey, nice to meet you. I'm Alex, I'm gonna be your competitor, and I am not gonna let up for a second. We're gonna go hard. It's gonna be fun. But the great thing about it is it is such a nice industry that most people, and I say most people are pretty decent. You know, you can pick up the phone and have a chat. So one of my besties, he runs another line marketing. In fact, I've got a couple of mates that run line marketing companies. So Adrian Briscoe runs a company up a little bit north of here in Chorley. Really, really nice guy. He actually helped me get started. Callum Larter, he's in Kent. Again, such a nice guy. I probably talk to him every week as well, really. I got like WSM, again, Terry, I was with him last week at another job. Richard, East Anglian Road Markings, another fantastic guy. You know what's nice about this industry compared to doing plumbing or electrics? They're just not dicks. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely a few dickheads, but on the whole, everybody we meet is pretty decent. And most people, they may not make a video like this for you, but they will happily answer the phone, have a chat to you about some line markings, and point you in the right direction, help you as opposed to criticize you. Now, on that front, just one last final thing. I mentioned, you know, the cost of getting involved about 20K. This isn't, you know, not to be a shameless plug. In fact, I'm going to talk about somebody else here. But I would say the other thing you really need to do is get some training. Now, yes, I do training. Yes, I think it's the best training in the industry. I don't just train staff that come in here. I do training for other businesses, for local councils, as well as everybody that comes through my doors here gets trained to the same standard, but I also do it for councils. I also do it for other private companies. Now, there is another company that also do this, and their training, not too bad, in fact. This is a company called Meon. You'll probably come across them if you're interested in line marking. They are a paint supplier and machinery supplier, but they also have a training academy, as you can see here. Now, you can go onto their website. They talk all about the different types of training, whether it's in-house or whether you want to do it at their place, whether you want them to come up site. They will do practical training for you, and it will be on all of their equipment and their paints. Now, we don't use their paints. The spray machines, I mean, they're a supplier of Graco machinery. We've bought machines from them, we've bought them from other places. Their paints are pretty good. I just tend to go direct to manufacturers myself because that, it's just easier and I really like it. But they do training as well. So if you're interested in training, maybe go to Meon, have a look at their stuff, have a look at their paints, their machinery, have a look at their training. Honestly, I've never taken their training, but I would imagine their training is very, very good. So I think it'd be worth having a chat. Undoubtedly, their training will probably be cheaper than my training. My training will give you everything you need to start running your business today. And we'll go through machineries, how to install it, plus how to do your business plans, how to do your sales, how to do your marketing, how to do literally everything you're gonna need to run your business, because that's my experience. That's what I do, that's what I help other people with as well. Meon will give you very hands-on how to install, but they won't necessarily give you the other bits because that's not what they do. So have a look. There's, like I say, there's virtually 2 places you can do training in the UK. I'm one of them, Meon's the other one. Take your pick, I don't mind either way. I'm happy to have a phone call, happy to do videos like this, or just watch some of our content. It's totally free. You could probably pick up an awful lot just watching our videos without even paying for any of our content. Now, if you do want to find out about the training that we do offer, I'll put a link below, you can find that. It's at linestriking.expert. It's $2,500. If that's not your bag and you just want to go for the freebie sort of stuff, watch more of these YouTube videos, or maybe check out some of Meon's stuff. They also have a free training academy as well, where you can do a couple of the freebie bits. Worth watching. But look, that's pretty much it. I think a great industry. I really hope you get involved in it. I would love to have you as a competitor. And more importantly, I would also love just to hear from you, whether you're a competitor or not, because like I say, it's a really small industry, pretty decent. Most people are pretty good. And I love meeting people, I love chatting, and I love helping people every chance I get. So great to meet with you. Thank you very much for the question. If you guys get any more, drop me them in the comments, and I will see you all in the next one.